So this is a sutta on an astounding woman, an astounding mother, Nanda Mata, and she was apparently an Anagami. So the first 5 lower fetters have been completely destroyed. And so these are about her astounding qualities. And she's actually telling the great Venerable Sariputta about these qualities, and he's saying, wow, that's amazing. Wow, that's amazing, that's amazing. And there's a few that stand out, really. The first one is that as she's doing some recitation or reciting some suttas, apparently, there is a heavenly being or a god that comes to speak to her and praise her for that. So the fact is that that gods, according to this, are coming to speak to her. She's not sort of going to them as a human being. So, which kind of shows the loftiness of her mind. It's so beyond this world, where even she's conversing with gods. And so Venerable Sariputta says, that's amazing, that's wonderful. And she says, so this is not my only incredible and amazing quality, there is another. I had an only son called Nanda, who was dear and pleasing to me. The rulers, the great authorities, forcibly abducted him on some pretext and had him executed. But I can't recall getting upset when he was under arrest, being arrested, imprisoned, or being put in prison, killed or being killed. And Venerable Sariputta says that it's incredible, it's amazing that you purify an arisen thought. I don't quite understand that, but
purify thought in arising.
Yeah,
as soon as the thought manifested, there's no time for it to accrue the unwholesomeness, the views, the leanings, the cravings. It's just seen for what it is, as it is. Most people don't. Most people catch their thought down the stream when it's already polluted with this or that, and then they have to undo it back. But if the mind is developed, as soon as the thought arises, it's seen correctly with right wisdom.
As this is unwholesome, this should not be delighted in or pursued.
Well, I think that's gone now. She doesn't even need to say that anymore. That's why it's so amazing.
It says like you purify even
as it arises.
Right.
As it arises, it's being purified. So there is no and I shouldn't think these unwholesome thoughts.
Disgusting as disgusting. You don't have to keep telling yourself unwholesome as unwholesome.
Yeah, exactly. So there is no more lapsing of the context in regard to the immediate arising of thoughts. That's where the context penetrated through.
Yeah.
Thoughts of what? My son being imprisoned.
Anything. Thought of this, thought of that, thought that would give rise to sensuality or ill will or sadness or grief or hindrance. Doesn't matter. In its nature, it's already purified before it could even give rise to such things.
It's seen as a thought, in its nature.
It's understood in its nature.
Yeah. So she can see her mind, seeing the signs of the mind.
Oh, she way past that point. Yeah.
So purifying the rising.
You see the signs of your mind, and then you can start purifying the thoughts correctly. But she's already purifying the arising of the thought. That's already affected by her understanding. So she doesn't even need to purify her thoughts. She's cleaning things at the top of the spring. She's keeping it clean. She's not even cleaning it. She's keeping it clean.
So some might say, well, her son, she obviously didn't care. She was so dispassionate.
Well, yeah, you can be cynical about everything, but she said herself, the son she loved, the son she raised. They was very pleasing to her. So if you have a reason to think that she was lying, sure, but Sariputta didn't think that. So I mean, you can also think, she sounds very conceited. Oh yes, Venerable Sariputta, that's not the only amazing quality that I have. Let me tell you more about myself. I mean, to an uninstructed worldling, that can sound as the utter conceit and arrogance. But it's just factually true. These are things factually amazing, because Dhamma is amazing. And that's exactly what she says. she practiced it, she developed it. It's like, oh wow, even she's surprised how amazing these things are once you practice them.
I think for a lot of, initially it just sounds like, oh, but that's impossible. The only way that somebody could not care or not be moved by such an event is if they just become like a kind of a robot or something, that they just don't have any emotion or feeling or any... They don't see the significance of things anymore, which is kind of why you can't
they
do
dismiss
that work.
it. They dismiss the possibility because it's just incomprehensible how that's possible. Thus, it's not possible because my own limited thinking is still my reference for what's right and wrong.
Exactly.
That's most people, basically. Yeah.
But she was obviously, she clearly knew the significance of things.
Of the
My
things.
dear and pleasing son.
And yet is not...
And well, again, she would
Torture.
not have listed that as an amazing thing that her mind didn't move amidst this quite a horrible experience of having your son falsely imprisoned and killed, if she did not understand and kind of experience that significance, the full weight, the full extent of having your own son abducted, tortured, killed, all at a false pretext, and you couldn't do anything about it, and yet her mind didn't move. That's the amazing aspect. It's like, oh, I didn't care about that son. I never saw him. He was a drunkard. He was killed. I didn't care. Well, that's not much of an accomplishment, isn't it? You wouldn't list that as a great thing. Means she actually felt the full extent of that experience, yet remained unmoved. And the Dhamma is wonderful because of that. And same that other man who also understood the peril of sensuality, the full degree of it, went back home after being with the Buddha and said, the sexual intercourse is unthinkable for me anymore. So told his wives he'd be celibate for the rest of his life. Basically, he was an Anagami. If you want to stay here, I'll support you. If you want to go and remarry, I'll support you. I'll set you up. And then his first wife says, okay, take me to such and such man. He says, now you could think, oh, he didn't feel anything, he was a robot. But then he would not have described the whole thing and the significance of it. Because he said, no, he took his dearest wife, the one that was longest with him, by her hand, took him to that man, joined their hands, poured the water over in that ceremony of giving the blessing, and he was surprised that his own mind didn't move at any part of that process. And then exclaimed, isn't this Dhamma wonderful? Once you practice it and understand the danger of sensuality, your mind doesn't move amidst things that I'm surprised I didn't move. So he felt the full weight of it, yet it wasn't enough to move the mind that's freed itself from it. And that's what I say, like, you find a way out of suffering amidst the suffering. And there is no greater verification than that.
And that's the one, for a mother.
For a mother's son, In his case, it was that. There's always going to be something.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is not about destroying the significance of things.
There is no son.
Telling us exactly, there is no son, there is no mother, there is no wife, there is no dearness, there is. Yet you're not moved by it because you train your mind in regard to that. But for most people, the idea of training is the idea of denial. Oh, there's nothing real, and kalapas are constantly flicking and changing, and atoms are flying, nothing is real in reality, it's just these empty designations, conventions. Yeah, good luck with that then. Because when the confinement does come, and those secondary management explanations don't apply anymore, you're left with what you started, suffering, and not knowing the escape from it.
And the difference then would be basically seeing it here, or back then, basically.
Yeah, the difference would be recognizing that it doesn't come from the significance, from the things, from the experience. It comes from your own resistance towards it.
People would regard that as being a bad parent, even if you were actually, making some efforts to, but not being emotionally involved.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah.
That would be considered.
Oh,
bad
it's all good,
parenting.
but you need to the
You
only
should
way
care
for you
more.
to show your love is to cry and to be emotionally disturbed. But if you stop and look at it closely, the only reason people give in to tears and emotional disturbance is because they don't want to bear it.
Yeah,
They can't bear it. So it's a magical release of the pressure. Just break down, cry, and then you'll feel better after the physical fatigue sets in. So you are actually loving that person less because you cannot endure the extent of their significance. But you break down like a little child and cry as a defense mechanism, not as a great love.
So to take in the full significance of...
Yeah, because that's like, you cry, you don't want to face it, you act, you kick, you scream when your mind moves. And your mind moves when the mind can't bear the significance of it. The pressure, the weight, the love, whatever it is. So, it's correct to say that the only person they can truly see the extent of loving your son would be at least an Anagami, needs to be at least an Anagami. Or have at least the right view. And they'll be able to fully take the weight of someone's significance, presence, love, death, without moving, without fearing it. They can see how important that person was to them. Otherwise they're just selfish. That's why they're crying. Contrary to popular belief. It's basically difficult to remain unmoved.
Yeah, it's a bit like
And then on top of it, you now have the view that says, no, you should be moved on account of love or whatever emotion you have.
That's virtuous.
But then you realize, well, the only reason I say I should be moved is because I can't help but move.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, at least if I were to have an option to not move, okay, then I can maybe decide to move or not. But I don't have, I just move because it's just crushing me. I just can't bear it. That's how much I love you. That's how much I care about avoiding discomfort in my own mind. And people do understand that. Like when they say, people are greatly in love, it's like it's a very selfish thing. Like you basically almost objectify this person that represents that love for you, because that's how self-centered you are. And you'll be distraught. You won't eat for a month. You'll be crying if things, but all because you're so selfish. Because you can't bear it. You can't bear it on the mental level. So you're doing all these magical acts and breakdowns to cope with it. You just don't want to face pain. Just don't want to face it.
Yeah, that's what it is. You're not able to allow this pain to endure. You have to, we have Hollywood and all these glamorizing the acting out of it, but actually if you just are in a way like friendly with this pain, then you're able to see that it's possible to not have this obsession to try and escape this pain.
And then you could then clearly with an unpolluted kind of context see the significance of that person, whether it was just a sensual infatuation, obsession, whether it was a genuinely close friend or something, doesn't matter, because you would not be magically sort of inventing things to cover up the weight, because the mind's not moved, so the mind can remain facing it, seeing it.
That doesn't stop you from, looking after them or helping
exactly
them.
Not at all. Not at all. Quite the opposite.
You do it better.
You will do it even better because you're not acting selfishly. You're not acting out of that compulsion and pressure and fear.
But also, let's say that they do something a bit dodgy and you're intoxicated by your feelings towards them. You're not going to be able to help them. You're not going to be able to say to them, you need to watch out, that is what you just did is wrong. And that is the most loving thing you can do to that person, to be very firm with them.
What is genuinely good for them. You could see that and maintain the perspective. But for that you need to work on yourself. You don't work that by loving others and dealing with others. No, you work that by training your mind how not to move amidst things they want to move it. So sense restraint, guarding of the doors, and unwholesome things on a day-to-day level. These little things, these little thoughts, little choices that you feel like, oh well, I know this is sensual, but I'll do it. No, when you recognize it, when you're self-conscious of it, you don't do it. That's the practice. But if you don't think the practice is there, if you think practice is kind of, oh well, I do my best, my precepts are more or less okay, I avoid things, sometimes I slip a bit, but I spend 3 hours sitting cross-legged and feeling the breath in my abdomen and everything else. That's not the practice. I mean, the Buddha never taught meditation to lay people. He never taught meditation in contemporary sense of that word, and to anyone, but there was no anywhere that he was instructing lay people, householders, how to practice samadhi or samatha. Yet, this lady was an Anagami with jhanas at will. On account of what? Well, if you read further Sutta, you'll see on account of what? On account of purifying her thoughts since she was a young girl. So just do that. Don't do anything else. Just every unwholesome thoughts that arises, you purify it. No exception. no rest day, no cheat day during the week. But that's all you need to do. Don't need to go on top of a mountain. Don't need to ordain. Don't need to sit cross-legged 6 hours. Don't need to go to Burma and do a retreat. Just purify every thought that's unwholesome in its arising, every single time. And then you can yourself partake in these amazing qualities, and the gods will come and talk to you.
But how would you, especially in the beginning, it's very tricky with the criteria that you use for wholesome, non-wholesome.
Is it though? It's tricky if somebody hasn't invested any thought in it whatsoever. But if you start that, like I know myself, when I don't think I even read the suttas at that point yet. But I think I want to learn how to calm my mind, or meditation or something. Had some broad interest. And the first and the most obvious thing, like even before I educated myself, was, well, I can't at the same time then continue sort of drinking, partying, going out and doing the same things I'm doing. That's just ridiculous. I have to stop this and then seek to educate myself further how to tame the mind. But if you're honest, it's clear. Deep down everybody would know. But say you are unclear, well, read the suttas, and the Buddha is hammering it in all the time, what's unwholesome, and then you try and understand it for yourself, and then you'll see it. Whatever you're about to do, ask yourself why you're doing it, what's the reason for it. Not for the sake of a great answer or resolution, just for the sake of clarity. And if it's like, no, this is factually unwholesome, fine. I don't need to do anything else. I don't need to now counter these thoughts and then do this practice. No, I just need to not act out of it and endure that for as long as it's present. And then I haven't acted out of it. And you do it once, twice, 3 times. And it starts by not acting out. You practice it successfully. Acting out will not even be an option, because your thoughts would be clear in their arising. So let alone action coming out of it, that's just not going to be possible.
I was thinking, not acting out is kind of uneventful, So it seems like nothing's going. What are you doing? Nothing.
Yeah. I need something more palpable to do as my practice.
Trustful intention, it just dies.
Yeah.
So you didn't act out there. There's no fireworks.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not so easy to see or understand what passion, aversion, delusion is. But at least what I found for myself, that was just an excuse. It's like you said, it's obvious what it is, but saying to myself, well, I'm not so clear about this, makes me able to act out of it.
You emphasize,
so, basically.
So you might not understand the full extent of it, and you emphasize that aspect so that you keep acting out of it.
Exactly.
But you realize, but wait, I do understand a great extent of it.
So if
and to that extent I shouldn't act then. And then the rest of it will be understood. So just a little bit of honesty is needed for everybody individually, and it's very clear. And that's exactly why some monks and nuns in the suttas, that's all they needed in terms of the instruction. Whatever you know it's unwholesome, don't do it. Don't cultivate it. Whenever you know it's wholesome, cultivate it. And it was enough for arahantship. As a principle, it remains standing.
I'll just go on with the suttas. This is number 3. She says, "This is not my only incredible and amazing quality. There is another. My husband passed away, and he was born in one of the realms of the spirits. He revealed to me his previous life form, but I can't recall getting upset on that account." So she's seeing sort of spirits manifesting.
Something which would otherwise be frightening to people.
Seeing a ghost or something. But number 4.
It says, I used to be your husband.
Yeah.
Okay. Not wrong. Number 4 stands out a bit to me. That she says, this is another one of my incredible, amazing qualities. Ever since we were both young, and I was given in marriage to my husband, I can't recall betraying him even in thought, still less in deed. So even when young, she was already doing this purifying practice.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. It's not something overnight. So who would be able to not even have a thought about another, like in her case, another man, even a fleeting thought, ever. That's how steady, unmovable, and thorough, and transparent and clear her mind was, even when she was a young girl given into marriage.
Mm-hmm. There's some,
But again, so I'm not on that level, but what's stopping you to start now?
Yeah.
What's stopping you now to purify your thoughts as they arise?
Yeah. It's not because it's like, oh well, she was just an amazing person. Just, well for her.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing I heard long ago was, well, you see, she had all these amazing qualities, and she had a son, she had a husband. Thus, she wasn't celibate. She was fully engaged in sensuality.
Oh yeah.
Full on, and she still attained the highest, one of the highest goals.
So not being celibate means she was not celibate when she had a son.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Because in other suttas, the Buddha mocks and criticizes Brahmins that are worse than dogs, because dogs would mate only when in season in order to reproduce.
Yeah, which is a higher.
So that also, if somebody wonders how far I can go with 5 precepts, well, that's how far you should go.
Yeah. Why?
Yes, you can. You technically, you're not celibate because you will reproduce to have offspring. That's the only excuse for not being celibate. So that's the truly virtuous person in terms of. So yes.
And nothing after that.
Nothing before
doesn't
that,
mean
nothing
everything.
After that.
You can now do anything that's of a sexual nature.
Yeah, of course.
It's all okay now.
Yeah. No.
It's the 5 precepts. It's my wife. It's my husband.
Yeah, exactly. So I can just indulge because it's consensual or something.
So but what stands out is that even when I was young, I did not portray my husband. So she didn't. She had mentally, she was disgusted by that act, even just fantasizing about it, even about another man. She was already mentally disgusted or repelled by that.
Yeah, withdrawn.
So it would be quite a stretch to think that physically she wasn't.
Yeah.
Physically she was all about it.
Yeah, because you will not be able to like even purify your thoughts on that level if your actions are not purified.
So you can only imagine,
so if somebody wants to use that sutta as an argument that they can be not celibate and practice for Anagami, sure. But then that not celibate needs to be understood on the level have sexual intercourse only for that reproducing. That's it.
Without any passion, basically.
Doesn't matter if passion overwhelms you, whatever, maybe you need more work, but engage in an act only to have a child. Nothing else.
That's to extend the family.
That's it. For the purpose of extending a family, of whatever. Yeah, exactly, even that actually. The reason why you would have a child, but let's not get into that. Like back then, the entire kind of continuation of parents and the family and everything would depend on having children. And today that's not the case. So why do you want to have children as well? So sure, you don't have to be celibate. On the occasion you need to have a child. If those criteria are not met, well, you cannot use this sutta as an argument. And that's also, that's why she's an Anagami later.
Yeah.
She's not like, she was so pure because she was Anagami. No, it's because she practiced this purity, she became Anagami. Because she was withdrawn from sensuality, she became Anagami. I mean, the Buddha said that the mind can enter a jhana, a monk can enter jhana who hasn't been withdrawn, who hasn't understood the danger, gratification, the escape in terms of sensuality. That's not possible. It's not possible unless you fully abandon sensuality beforehand. It's not possible to enter jhana, to experience jhana. And in other suttas it says that the first jhana is necessary for fruits of Anagami. In other words, Anagami is free from sensuality before he is an Anagami. That's why he's an Anagami, because he's free from sensuality, not other way around.
So this is a 5th amazing quality. Ever since I declared myself a lay follower, I can't recall deliberately breaking any precept. So when she declared that, I am a lay follower.
When she understood Dhamma. She got the right view.
For the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's usually when people declare being a lay follower means they understood the Dhamma as a householder.
And hers.
And then jhanas?
Her 6 amazing qualities that she can get all jhanas at will.
Yeah.
And then the 7th was of the 5 lower fetters taught by the Buddha, I don't see any that I haven't given up.
See, that's another thing. Given up. It's something you maintain, you hold on to, and you see that, you know that. And that's those little things that I keep saying throughout the day. Little thoughts, little actions, that is your tether, that is your connection to it. That you're willingly, at every individual instance, refusing to give up. Because you're not diligent enough. As simple as that. So the diligence is measured then on that level, not on how many hours per day you stay awake and sleep, and how many meditation sessions you have, and how silent you are, and how slow you walk. And no, it's how diligent you are in regard to dispelling the unwholesome states and purifying thoughts as they arise, enduring them on the right level and not acting out of it. So she given them up fully. She can't see anything that she hasn't given up in terms of the 5 lower fetters. So how do you abandon the 5 lower fetters? By giving them up. Everything that partakes in them.
The choice. When you can see your choice.
Exactly. Yeah. And once you're basically restrained enough, having kept the precepts enough, so you stop ignoring your choice. Because automatically you ignore the choice. The choice is always there. You see that. To take, to touch, to look, to hear. You just ignore it. Because it's just too quick, too small, too little, too insignificant, seemingly so. Well, if you are basically not ignoring that choice, the choice becomes apparent, and that's how you purify it in its arising. Which is an amazing quality.